We are about to be live on YouTube right now.
Hi YouTube, y'all. You guys are the greatest. We love you way more than Facebook.
And now we live on Facebook.
Facebook, you guys are amazing. I promise you, YouTube do not support like the way you guys do. We really appreciate you guys resharing the information. Lit for y'all.
All right, y'all. Our commercial is running. Every time I come in the press room, you in the press room. Working on our Stars Hot Tronic heat press. Using all the vinyl. Making all the picture tees. I like vinyl.
I'm about to just load these boxes up. I'm out your way.
Man, you gotta be a crazy little brother to get fired on your day off. What you get caught stealing boxes for?
Man, I didn't get caught stealing no boxes. He said he caught me though.
We get our rent paid.
Why don't you go in there and ask the girls real fast to see if they help us pay our rent?
That don't sound like a bad plan at all.
What's up, Pops? What's up, Smokey?
I'm trying to set up a meeting with the girls, man.
Okay.
Y'all wanna help me and Craig pay our rent?
Craig still owe me money from the last time he got me. He gotta learn a lesson. He shouldn't be stealing. Go ask him to tell that girl from last night to give him some money.
What they say? They said it's slow for real.
I'm about to just ask boss when we get our job back.
Of course you can.
Yeah. Y'all actually won an award, the Boss Mag 2009 Ohio Hip Hop Award. Y'all won for that media outlet thing.
Man, I don't even know.
It's like y'all won. He didn't even know he won it.
What'd you say? Who was it?
You won the Boss Magazine 2009 Ohio Hip Hop Award. Congratulations.
We on.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Peanut, the CEO of Dash Resource. I got my man Stack and Smed in the building.
What's up, everybody, man? Long time no see,
Where
man.
you been at, man?
And I've been in the metaverse.
Lord,
my favorite place of all places. Like, I'm starting to just see everyone, including myself, as an avatar now. And it's true.
Oh my God.
I'm having kind of like dreams about the metaverse and everything. So yeah, building a virtual location and it's looking good, man.
Yes,
I'm into it, man. So what's up, everybody, man? We want to invite everyone to go to our YouTube channel. It's the Legendary People Podcast, spelled exactly how it is right underneath me, the Legendary People Podcast. We did not spell it with ebonics. We spelled it the real way. So like, subscribe, ring the bell notification so you can get notified every time we drop hot content like we are today. Make sure you guys comment whether you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll read your comments and then voice all your concerns. So the Legendary People Podcast on YouTube. We want to say what's up to our sponsors. Go to Sheik's for breakfast. They have the best breakfast in the city. Agnes All Natural Grill for lunch. If you're ever injured in any type of way, call attorney Michael Wright, 937-222-7477. Make the right choice. If you want to get lit a little bit, unwind with some Kiara wine, you can contact my bro Antoine Cunningham on Facebook, and they also have it at More for Less. And the shoparea.com is like the baby Amazon. Delivery is always free from the store to your door in 4 business days. That's the shoparea.com. We are at T-Shirt Kings, and it's also T-Shirt Kings in the metaverse, T-Shirt Kings 247.com. Go for your mouth and Camera Kings. We have an amazing special on T-shirts right now, 50 shirts for $250. So make sure you use your income tax money and invest in some little T-shirts, you know. It'll be major. And last but not least, my bro Peanut Johnson teaches you how to get a big old bag from investing your money in stocks.
Yes.
He does a show every Sunday called Sell Stocks Not Dope, and that is on the Dash Resource channel on YouTube every Sunday at 8 o'clock. Sell Stocks Not Dope. Yes. So without further ado, my brother Peanut Johnson, over to you.
Thank you, brother. Man, bro, you bodied it, man.
I appreciate it.
Yet again, man. Not again, a game.
A game. Right?
Go to my YouTube, man. I just dropped a video for on Sunday, which was yesterday, on the top stocks you can benefit off the chip shortage. The Ukraine war that's going on right now, which we're not going to get into today, has created a large depletion of chip makers because a lot of those were from Ukraine. So look for just check the video out. Some money in there. But anyways, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about our legends, of course. And of course, like I say here, every single episode, there's no legend higher. So we've had people on here from Skeeter Fly, and I watched his presentation yesterday. That was some wild stuff yesterday.
I seen it a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little wild. So
Yeah.
we've had people from the streets all the way to, Michael Wright, attorney, Desiree Tim. This is somebody that is one of the creme de la creme of guests that we have here today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Miss Judge Angelina Jackson. How are you?
Hello, how are you? And running for judge.
We speaking it into existence. man.
I'm doing exceptionally well. But so how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. So here on the Legendary People podcast, we have to find out the origins. Without further ado, where'd you grow up?
I grew up here in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, on Hillcrest Avenue.
Hillcrest.
Yeah.
Okay. And what hood is that, man? Hillcrest.
It's on the west side.
It's on the west.
So you got your Gettysburg, you got your Salem side.
So
it goes
it's a
all the way
very-
down
yeah.
Main Street. So
It's a long street. So
Yeah.
I grew up close to the intersection of Hillcrest and Catalpa. And
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there used to be I identify it for all Dayton natives. You're probably too young, but there was a Mexican restaurant, Pepitos, on the
Pepitos,
corner.
I remember
Yeah,
Pepitos.
so like 2 blocks from Pepitos.
Oh, okay, yeah. I actually drive by there to go to my home every single night. Pepitos, well, it's a new club now.
Front
whatever.
row.
Pepitos was a nice spot.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, like, what kind of, what was the neighborhood like to you at that time in your life? Like, as early as you can remember.
Yeah, it was a great neighborhood. Actually, we knew all of our neighbors. So when I was a child, I played with neighborhood kids. It's weird because you don't see that as
Right.
much now. But yeah, all my little friends lived on Ravenwood. I had
Ravenwood.
like 3 or 4.
You just got so much street credibility out there. One word right there.
right.
Go ahead. All right. Shout out to Ravenwood, John. Go ahead.
So yeah, and it was like the kind of neighborhood where at that time, like we were having block parties,
Yes.
a thing of the past, but I'm talking about the food, the volleyball net, everything.
Wow.
And that was the kind of neighborhood that it was. I would say it was a really cool neighborhood to grow up in.
So before we go forward, we have an interesting thing that you actually brought to my attention when we came in today. That you come from a legacy, like a legacy of greatness, right? So you want to give us a little bit of that, like before we get into like your early beginnings?
Sure, absolutely. So just so everybody knows how this came about, I would encourage everyone to check out the book Dayton's African American Heritage by Margaret Peters. And it really does like this amazing job of just setting forth so much history of Dayton here locally. And so I have distant relatives, in particular by the name of Joseph Wheeler. You can see his name mentioned throughout the book. An emancipated slave who came to the Dayton area when he was about 29 years old.
Wow.
Met his wife and actually participated in some of the earliest what I would call social justice, and working with an organization to help Black folks who were being deprived of benefits they were entitled to as a result of tax collection.
Wow.
And then also Mr. George Wheeler was the 3rd Black police officer in the Dayton area.
Wow.
So, yes, I have.
That is so.
Those are my distant relatives. So, I have roots.
so like for me to draw a parallel really quick. So we had on Talaferro Sebastian, which is one of my very great friends. He's with the Save the Arts movement. His mother was an amazing singer and amazing artist, like painter.
Yeah.
And her fruit that she bared was a daughter and a son. They both are amazing talents at both. So do you think it's probably that passed down in the DNA kind of thing?
I mean, you never know. It could be, as the book will explain, there was a lot of advocacy and activism going on, back in the early 1900s. And, so I'm quite sure some of my social justice leanings had to have come from something in the DNA.
Yeah.
I believe that.
It's definitely a school of thought that says, like, your DNA is recording everything that goes on in your time.
Absolutely.
And then, it gets passed down from generation to generation, and it goes beyond looks and physical traits. It kind of goes into your interest and how you think, how you're wired. So I think.
Absolutely. So let's go into some more of your genetic makeup. What was your home life like, like as early as you can remember?
Sure. I am the oldest of 4 siblings. My parents were married for the entire time of my, I guess you could say, childhood. You know, while it's I guess from a young adult behind. They're divorced now, I guess you could say.
Right.
So yeah, you know, my father's black, my mom's white. I have 2 younger sisters and a younger brother. So yes, I'm the oldest of 4.
Right. So like during that time, did you have some unwanted pressure put on you because you were the oldest?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I had a lot of, I mean, I don't want to say like unwanted, but you know, for a variety of reasons, I had a lot of responsibility as a young child. So yeah.
So what elementary school did you go to?
So I started out, I went to Fairview Elementary.
That's where I was too.
So
I did. I went to Fairview.
yeah, so I started there. I went to Fairview through the 2nd grade, and then there was a program at Lincoln IGE. So starting, actually, was it the 3rd grade that I started in Lincoln? Yes. So in the 3rd grade, I started taking the bus over there to Nassau Street. And they had at the time, so it's interesting because like we don't do this educationally really anymore that I know of. So it's kind of funny. It's weird. Feels weird to say this, but whatever.
It's okay.
So it's like
from the heart.
There you go.
So it was called like the gifted and talented program.
Okay.
So basically you were a little kid, you had to go sit somewhere with a person asking you all these questions, which I assume I now understood to be some form of IQ or aptitude testing.
Right.
And then, you know, whatever their cutoff was, then you went there. Okay.
Right.
And we had, I believe it was 1 dedicated day a week, right? Where we were out of regular classroom and we got to do all of these special projects.
Wow.
Right? And so it was really super diverse because kids were coming from all over the city
Right.
because you had a test in to get in.
try
So,
out, correct.
I mean, it was what they, like I said, called a gifted program. But the cool thing about that was like you just had this opportunity to do really amazing like artistic things, the ability to, I mean, we were doing like research and writing in elementary school. I think I
Right.
like legit still,
Yeah.
I think I wrote a paper on like acne or something in the 5th or 6th grade, but like an actual research paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You actually
So-
did very well. I mean, you got a very nice, beautiful face. You got to be great
My
at it.
research fixed my face.
Right.
But it was I look back on that time in elementary school very fondly. It really now there's some maybe not so fond parts of elementary school, but that particular part I was a very curious child. I really loved learning. I loved to read. And so that was good for me.
Right.
It was really good for me at a young age.
So we always like to ask this question because me and Sped are taking cash donations and cash apps, and we take crypto as well. Donations for our time machine that me and him was currently working on. I mean, we work on this thing meticulously every single
Every
day,
day,
right?
every
But if
day.
you could, once we complete this time machine, we're going to let you use it. And what would you go back to say to a younger version of yourself at that point in your life? What would you say to yourself?
Oh boy. Oh, there's a lot.
Well, the very first thing that pops in your
Okay.
head.
I would probably say to my younger self, like, you're okay. You know, you're all right. You're doing okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So at that time, did you feel like maybe a little different? I mean, because like growing up kind of with mixed heritage back during that time, it kind of held a connotation. Did you see any colorism or anything like that during your time as a child?
So yeah, I think definitely, you know, Dayton has a large like population of, you know, black people who are biracial. And I think in particular, you know, kind of an interesting phenomenon to where they refer to folks as white passing or white presenting. And so that's definitely an interesting experience. Yeah, I had a lot, like, you know, definitely times of wishing maybe that I looked different than what I did. maybe just fit in a little bit better in that regard. I wouldn't say it was completely isolating, but I do think that, a lot of people from perhaps a mixed race background kind of go through their identity struggles and not really like identity in the sense that you don't know what you are, but, just the pressure from outside people, is so much it's constantly asked about like what, my racial or ethnic background is. And so that, of course, draws more attention to it when you can just be like going and living, people, kind of at some points, especially like, if I'd be like, that's my dad, like people would say like, no, it's not.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
what?
it is.
What, you went through that before?
I mean, oh man, I can say from like childhood even on into, young adulthood, people, some, not all, because some people are like, they know, and they know. And that's that.
And you know, right? Yeah.
But I do feel like it's a different experience when you are black, but you look like you could possibly be white,
right.
And there's this author that I like to read her books. Her name's Danzy Senna, but she was given this interview, and what she said, she had to learn at a very early age that her presence was disruptive, and she had to get comfortable with making people uncomfortable. And I can identify with that greatly. Wow. And so I think it's confusing to people at times when they see, who is, I am a black woman, and that is, maybe that's a little confusing.
Tell us a little bit about your dad. How, like, what did he do? What type of father was he?
Okay. So he, worked in my early ages. He worked at a bank. I don't remember which one, but then ultimately he became a civilian employee for the Air Force Base, and that's where he worked for a majority of my life. Yeah. And my dad was very education was really of critical importance to him. Right. So he pushed. And, he pushed hard on grades. And I don't know, I think maybe he would even say to this day that maybe he pushed too hard. But as a result of that, I was just, I think I was kind of innately driven, but then I had his guidance to make education a priority.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always hard to tell, It's hard to tell whether, from just us looking in, an outside observation.
Yeah.
It just sounds like, man, he's seen what you could become, and now we have you here running for a judge. You're gonna get it.
Absolutely.
And then at the end of the day, it's like, Dad knew that he had a diamond.
Right.
That you gotta
put pressure on in order to produce the diamond.
You gotta put the pressure, and you have to clean it up too. And I don't know. It's just I love stories like that because he just, and it's not all him. It's a lot of you, but it's just like you. When I hear that story, it sounds like your dad was like, he thought that you would do well.
Yeah. I think he definitely.
What a smart guy, right?
Man, Pops. And how about your mom?
Yeah. So my mom was a nurse in the ICU of St. Elizabeth for a really long time.
I was born in St. Elizabeth.
Okay,
she birthed you. She birthed you. She's going in my mother's office. She's going in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to be that way.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. So she's a nurse.
Yes.
So, like, did you experience, like, a different type of version of your mom, such as her having to do these long nights and then coming home?
Yes. So we had there were 4 of us, and she worked a lot of hours, with nurses, weekends, holidays. So one thing I always remember about, the holidays is sometimes we went and celebrate, like, on Christmas. So as a parent now, I'm kind of like, well, if we don't do it on Christmas, like, it's
Yeah.
okay. We can do it
Yeah.
the day after or the next weekend, whatever.
The next Wait a minute.
Wait a minute, hold on, stop.
Let me
man,
find
wait.
out you waiting a week after, and I'm still sitting there looking at my PS5.
Andy, not to open the gifts. To open
My PS5 been sitting there with dust on it after this.
What?
Mama, you tripping.
Okay, maybe.
Wait a
Mom
minute,
tripping.
man.
A week might be stretching it,
Yeah.
but y'all get what I'm trying to say here.
With
That
that weak
it's-
excuse.
You need a little bit more time to finish your shopping.
Well, so this is what, all right, so we're here being vulnerable, right? So, like, my mother has this practice, right? So, like, she will keep the Christmas tree up until until my grandmother's birthday. So my grandmother's birthday, don't shoot me right here in front of it, but she literally, like, keeps it up for, like, a week after Christmas. It's the weirdest thing you ever seen.
That's normal.
yeah.
Oh, it is?
What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Oh, look at me think I was growing up in a rough neighborhood because of...
Bro, I done had Christmas
I'm
trees
just
up. I done had Christmas trees up to like
July.
November. I'm like, might as well just leave it up. It becomes a part of the furniture in the house,
Okay,
bro.
so speaking of Christmas, what is one of your fondest childhood memories? That story right there, the same one you're looking at right there, that one. It's always that one. That story.
Fondest childhood memories.
A good. It don't even have to be the best one. Just give us a good one.
Yeah.
Because there's so many. It's hard to pick the one. That,
Right.
Yeah, there are. So I don't know why this popped into my head.
It gotta
It's
be the
so
one.
Weird. It's
It
not,
gotta
it
be the
definitely
one.
isn't like the fondest, but it was just this random thing. So my aunt, I remember her getting married, and we were like flower girls, so we were pretty young. Okay, had to be younger than 10, and I just remember I got to like dance with my dad at this wedding reception, and I
Yeah.
remember I had this peach dress, like I could see it clear as day, and it's a really cool memory of
Right.
mine. And I have lots of other ones. I mean, so my childhood, like everyone says, it has some issues. You know, we had some struggles.
Yeah.
But overall, it was like I have a lot of fond memories. You know, we weren't. I didn't get to take like any like. Oh, I just thought of one.
There we go.
Oh,
See?
this is wait a minute.
You gotta talk it out. You gotta talk it out sometimes. You gotta talk it out.
Take that wedding memory. Scrap that.
Okay. Maybe not that one. Okay, yeah, no, we gotta scrap that because this one doesn't even really involve my
still
parents.
cute,
It
guys.
was
Listen,
I
cute.
was so
I'm a
happy.
father.
I felt that. I seen the wedding. I had
Okay, no.
visualized it
I
and
loved
all.
it.
Scrap the wedding. I mean, yes, Dad, I love you. It was great, but no, this is about to be this was fun.
Here we go.
So my uncle, my dad's younger brother, lived in Hartford, Connecticut,
Okay.
right? And we didn't take like fancy vacations or whatever, but we took a trip to Hartford. We drove there.
Oh my
God. In a station wagon.
Wow. Oh.
I'm almost
Y'all don't know that struggle. Y'all don't know that struggle. No AC neither.
Yeah.
The AC was rolling the window down.
So my uncle, who was like single, didn't have any kids, whatever. So this is what he did when we were there.
Okay.
So one, we got to watch Purple Rain for the first time. And I was young. I mean, maybe I shouldn't have been watching Purple Rain, but I did.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, I love Prince now, you know.
Yeah,
but so
yeah,
the seed was
amazing.
planted. So he did 3 extra cool things. Shout out to my Uncle Ruben,
Shout out to
who
Uncle
also
Rube.
put me onto the book. But
Of course. Shout out to Uncle Rube.
so he did. So we watched Purple Rain. He made steak and eggs for breakfast, which I never had. Steak
Yeah.
and eggs for breakfast, and then he got me and my sister a Cabbage Patch doll, a black
What?
Cabbage Patch doll.
Oh!
Yeah.
Uncle Rube is the goat.
Cabbage Patch dolls was so hard
They
to come
were.
by. Like
Yeah.
if you had one of them, that was
Yeah.
amazing. Like
yeah,
Wow.
she had on a green and white checkered little dress, ponytails, and it was amazing.
Oh, I bet you that was
that
so-
is that
that's
is
the best.
up there.
There
It-
you go.
it is
All right.
Yes.
All right. We will excuse your dad.
you was right.
Right.
You know what? You got real good discernment. I don't know how to led into something later on in life, but at this point, you can
probably around the
judge pretty
same
good.
time.
Right. You have great judgment.
Oh my God. So, were there any childhood interests that you were into at an early age that kind of benefited or laid the building blocks for who you are today?
Yeah, I was a fanatical reader because I wasn't like like socially awkward, but I was absolutely nerdy and have probably retained that vibe to this day. I embrace it now. Okay,
right. Nerd gang.
Absolutely, 100%. But so yeah, reading. That was where I would get like lost. And sometimes, I've read, starting at a young age, I've read literally almost every Stephen King book.
My mother is one of the biggest Stephen King book like fans, and it literally had us reading stuff to the point where like my mom would literally make us read it because she wanted us to be as outraged when we watched the movie and it'd be different from the book.
Totally. So my God. Yeah. I love his work. I love his work. So I probably started reading that younger than I should, but I don't see a problem with it at all. And his work, so I was just like obsessed with his books. And I think I read a lot more fiction when I was younger. Maybe becoming an attorney, it kind of like my reading interests have shifted to more nonfiction, though I try to push myself back to fiction, for like stress relief and things of that nature. But I was a reader. I loved music and I wrote lots of songs. I still have notebooks with songs.
Nice.
What? So what? So like, wait. So were you rapping? Were you singing? Were you?
The rapping came later, but
what?
we're not gonna Don't ask me to do nothing.
You got my book already.
I'll tell you about it, but don't call upon me to do it because I'm a lot older now. But so yeah, I would write these.
It might be kind of cool for
That
you to
would
say
be
for you to drop a bar though.
You
might. Maybe at the end.
Maybe at the end.
Okay. Well, yeah.
No pressure.
Okay.
No pressure. So during this time you're writing music, but what else kind of were the building blocks to be? What ultimately?
Yeah. So we put this story on my website because it's just so super cool. So my dad was not an attorney. I did not. There weren't attorneys in my family. So when I was in the 6th grade, my dad had a friend. He ultimately ended up being a judge in Dayton Municipal Court. His name was Jim Cannon. But when I was 12, he was still a practicing attorney. So how it came about, I don't know, but he took me to like court with him when he was a solo practitioner, I believe, at that time. So we went to like all these different court proceedings. And at the end of the day, he gave me what's called a street law treatise, right? So when you're in law school, you have your actual really thick, difficult law books, and then you have what's called a treatise, which summarizes things and it helps distill like the concepts down for you.
Okay.
So the first case I ever read, if you will, was a summary of the very first case that you read in criminal law in law school. It's called the Queen versus Dudley and Stevens.
Okay.
And it's about 3 guys who are out at sea and they've been stranded for days and days, and they decide they're going to pull straws to see which person gets killed and eaten because they're starving.
Right.
And so of course the person that gets the short straw is like, no,
right,
I don't. And it happens, and they're rescued shortly thereafter. And so I was.
Did they actually
fascinated.
eat one of the people?
Yeah.
They did? Okay.
And they were rescued shortly after they ate one person.
Yeah. So I was fascinated by that. And then there was also a case about the handling of like poisonous snakes. I don't remember all the details about that, but basically some guy who was a friend, it's like this lady like invited him to church and they pass around poisonous snakes and he got one and bit him and he died or something. I don't know. But so there was, from a young age, there was this like a fascination there with the idea of how your conduct is regulated, and then but more so kind of like your mental state, like culpability, like when people have to act under extreme circumstances or extreme, and they do something horrible. Like, what is the appropriate way that we as a society hold that person accountable? So I'm just fascinated with it. And yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, like, not to segue too much to the front, but, like, for instance, if someone had premeditated, like, murdered someone, if they premeditated and murdered someone, it holds a longer charge than someone who just lost their, like, they lost their cool that day and killed somebody. I just always thought, like, when a life was lost, what's the big difference?
There's a difference. Yeah, because it goes back to what we call in the law, you know, our mental culpability, the intent with which you do something. And so the legal system, you know, accounts for that. And we have varying degrees, and we hold people responsible corresponding to their intent. And that's not the only thing, you know, but it's a big part of it. It's one of the major elements of a crime. So yeah.
So we're gonna get a little bit more into that a little later on. But right now we're at your middle school. What middle school you go to?
Stivers. It was only a middle school then.
Okay. So what was that transition like, going from elementary school and then, you know, trying out for the, you know, like the school that's more, you know, that kind of like push you more to now moving to Stivers? Did you have the audition for Stivers?
No, because Stivers wasn't, I don't think so. I know I did for Colonel White, which is where I went to high school, because that was the performing arts high school then. Stivers was not. It's so crazy. I'm trying to think back to like what all I remember about Stivers. I remember, you know, good teachers. And then I remember that my mom bought me a pair of Pro Wings for the first day of 7th grade. And I didn't know any better, right? I was just cracked on mercilessly.
What?
Yes.
I thought Ponies was still in, but
Pro Wings.
Pro Wings. No, Pro Wings from Payless.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I go home, and then of course I'm just devastated. So she took me out and got me a pair of British Knights.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have to go back with the Pro Wings.
Okay. So like, what was that very first day coming back?
Kids are some haters, man.
They're mean.
Really mean.
Middle school, they're mean.
They like, what's them? Oh my God.
So like, way before the craze of what are those, they use that on you.
It was so bad.
Oh my God.
Oh, I got cracked on so bad.
Okay.
You know, but
hey, look at them now.
Right.
Okay.
Air last one.
Look at them now.
We'll get you back as soon as you come in. Hear ye. All right, they gonna see. Remember me, Miss Pro Wing?
I don't even remember who it was.
Wait. And let me see what you got on now in my courtroom.
Shackles. All right. Don't you would kill for a pair of Pro Wings right now, wouldn't you?
Oh,
Life.
Oh, sorry. We said that, not her.
Right.
We said that.
Right. That she doesn't have anything to do with peanut stuff, man. He's
okay. Well, I had SJ900 before. Anybody know about those? Like, those ones that look like Jordans and they not. And then, like,
Gordon's.
I got to do a layup on the tongue.
Air Mike.
Anyway, so the very next day you come back to school and you fly with the BKs. What was that like to boost your confidence during that time?
You know, I mean, obviously no one wants to get picked on, and I know we left elementary school, but I'm going to throw this out there because I was a very overweight child in elementary school, and so I was picked on a lot for, you know, and called fat. But I did stand up to a bully. I know I won't say her name because I know she might still be in the dating community. But she bullied everybody, not just me. She was in the 6th grade. I was in
She's
the 3rd
dead wrong.
grade. Yeah. So I mean, I think I don't know. You know, I was a little self-conscious. Now maybe I might have slimmed out a little bit by middle school, but I mean, nobody wants to be picked on for any reason. So
ridiculous.
I wasn't bullied mercilessly by any means. I wouldn't say that. But I think, I don't really remember much of anyone direct targeting me for that. But I do remember just other kids. And I'm like, you know, it's not, I never got that. Like, I was raised to be kind. My mom really emphasized that, and raised to like stand up for what's right. So, you know, I would speak and speak up on things. My older daughter's a lot like that. Like she gets some of that from me.
Okay, got a little rah-rah.
Yeah. I mean, if something isn't right, my little one too. But you know, So yeah, middle school was cool. I don't remember any major problems. Now, I don't know. I'm getting older, so my memory is.
Yeah, look. We've already said it to like multiple guests before. Like, if it's something you don't want to answer, just like, oh,
Yeah.
I remember it get a little foggy in there.
Well,
All good.
it's legitimately like.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So, like, what kind of student were you?
You got a comment though that's checked in for Stivers Tigers.
Stivers Tigers.
Who was that?
Okay.
Mike Jones, Mike.
Jones. Hey, Mike.
Jones, Mike Jones. Who? No.
But no, I was a good student. I got good grades, and I wanted to do well. I like to learn. I like to write, and I wanted to get those A's. That's
There we
what.
go.
Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
what I wanted to do. So, I'm not sure. So I'm trying to think. I think more of my extracurricular stuff picked up more in high school. Like I did things like played t-ball when I was younger. But you know how now kids get involved in sports from like 5, and it's just crucial.
Right.
It wasn't like that.
Right.
Talk to a guy right now. He's training an infant right now. His
No.
grandson is already shooting jump shots. I mean, he's
No, I
good
get
at it
it.
as well.
Yeah.
I get it. But it's not like you can't just now. You can't mosey onto a school team in the
Right.
7th
It's
grade.
like, well, let me see your. And
You already said.
well, by the time the kids was coming to me in the 3rd grade, I'm like, how many years experience does he have? In the 3rd grade, I needed a basketball resume.
Pressure on them children, man.
Yeah. So so I wasn't really. I think I played volleyball maybe in the 8th grade. I'm trying to yes, middle school is kind of like gone. I don't really know what was going on. I took the RTA bus to Stivers. That's really all I remember.
Did you?
From Hillcrest all the way to Stivers, so we had to go downtown transfer.
Yes. Yeah.
And then sometimes we would be like, "Oh, we missed the stop," and take the bus. Like,
My mom was a bus driver,
Yeah,
so like,
occasionally.
I mean, man, my mom used to let us go everywhere on that bus, and it was liberating to have like your little bus pass. But okay,
It was,
I know.
for real.
So then you transitioned to C-Dub.
yes,
Colonel White for all the delegates watching.
they care. You better-
So like, what was that transition like going to Colonel White from Stivers?
So, at that time, it was the Performing Arts High School. So they had the different magnets, and you had to audition to get in. So yes, I was in the vocal magnet. Don't add that on to the rapping because
Right,
I'm like,
right.
let's just. But that's what I did. I was in the choir.
Okay.
Yes, I was. And and that's where I feel like really high school. I was involved. I got to, lots of my nerdy endeavors. I got to pursue,
Like what? Like what?
Okay, so the science fair, I think I extended this project over like 2 different science fairs. It's so crazy, but it was all about like extrasensory perception, different things, and I was like testing my friends to see if they were demonstrating like any like telekinesis ability, like if they could move things with their mind or whatever.
You
like
did a multiple experiment.
Well,
through
I mean,
multiple.
yes, but it was very rudimentary.
Is telekinesis possible?
Well, after that, I think it probably is. I swear I saw flame bend, but like bend.
I want to do some of these experiments right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, and I mean, I was, science fair was cool. I was president of my class for several years.
That's cool.
It was,
Okay.
and I played volleyball. I was not good. I was not good.
Right.
But I played all 4 years. And,
So what was that first campaign like running for school office?
well, I'm not going to put him on blast either because I don't think he lives. We're still friends. But so a friend was actually president first, and I was like the vice president, which was like awful dynamic because he won the popularity contest, and of course I was like all pissed off about that. But and then ultimately, he didn't really want to be the class president, so I think my sophomore year probably I ended up. Somehow, I don't know if they voted for me, if he just went away and I got it by default. I don't remember.
So I have a question. So during
He
your
tripped me
election-
in an assembly once too.
He did what?
On purpose?
He did
In
what?
high school?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we going to find
I
out.
didn't fall all the way down, but I was walking, in the auditorium, walking, and he put his foot out. He tripped me.
Oh, yeah.
What a jerk.
We gon-
Look.
Don't even say nothing.
I'm trying to PC myself.
Don't even say that. We got
You're a
it.
loser, guy. Wherever you are. I hope you stub your toe when you wake up this morning. I hope you do. Do you see ice on me?
He's just a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
So-
probably all right now. I
So
think.
like during this election, is it the traditional election where it's like whoever got the most top votes, they'll make that person the president, and the one who got the second amount, you got the vice president.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that's how it happened. I know we had to like give some kind of speech or something. I'm sure.
I'll pay good money to watch that speech.
I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I was involved in things, and I started I started working when I was 14. So
What was your first job?
I worked at Heroin.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was an usher for like soccer and wrestling, and it was sort of cool, but sort of not, because
Right.
I was really young and getting bothered by a lot of old, like, kind of
Creepy
sketchy men.
Why do old men always gotta make themselves like announce to someone beautiful? Like you can just sit back and be a creepy old man in that dark place where they didn't put a light bulb in, but you gotta come up and just make your presence known with that.
Well, the problem is old men don't know they're old.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They probably know, though, that they should not be talking to 14-year-old
Yeah,
girls.
they should
But-
know that much.
Yeah.
Man. Like,
But
wow.
yeah, and I think I made legitimately. Now somebody can check back to the rates around this time. You do the math and figure out what year it was. But I swear, I had to have only made like 3 something. At that.
Right. Minimum wage, exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Jim Crow wage.
I remember when minimum wage was like $4.25.
I mean, because what year would that? If I'm born in '75 and we add like 14 to that, so we're talking what 1989. Could it
Right.
have been more than $3
Right.
and something?
Yeah.
It was nothing though.
Dang,
And then I
$3
worked.
an
Being that
hour.
young, I had a work permit, so I worked all of like 10 hours or whatever.
So
Right.
wait, just to put things in proper perspective of inflation, what did you spend your very first check on?
I don't even know.
A car.
Yo,
$3 an hour, but somehow I was able to buy
Buy a
a car
house.
with buy a house with my first
No.
check. That
No.
shows how much everything is ballooned up.
A Fortune 500 company when I started with my first check.
I didn't work there too long because we weren't even driving. So like my friend's parents had to take me and my best friend to work. So I don't even know. Who knows? In my memory, maybe I did half a dozen shifts. I can't remember how long I worked there. But I don't remember buying anything.
Right.
I don't remember buying anything.
Right.
After taxes were taken out, there probably was nothing left.
Story of my life, right?
Yeah.
So, what is one of your favorite memories from high school?
Let's see. I'm trying to think back.
So, who are some of your early childhood friends? How do we bring that into the fold? Who's some of your instrumental friends from elementary all the way to high school?
Yeah.
Who's some instrumental friends?
So I still have girlfriends that I met in the 4th grade at Lincoln IGE that we were friends for a very long time, and those friends still live here. So we're friends to this day.
What's some of their names? You want to give them a shout out?
I'll give them their names. Shout out to Gabrielle.
Hey.
Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Stephanie.
There we go.
And we'll add an extra shout out to Roxanne, who came on in junior high.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then while we're giving all these shout outs, I'll just shout out my aunt, who's my age, Joyce Cates.
Oh,
love
okay.
her. So yeah, in high school, that was high school through college and everything. Yeah, that was my ace.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's
So, what's one of your favorite memories of kicking it with her during high school?
Well, I mean, I guess. Oh Lord.
Yep, that story. Yep, that one.
Well,
Yep,
no.
that. I do this. 91 interviews. I know exactly what that is. That story right there.
You'll remember this, the Odyssey. I
Yeah.
mean, what teen didn't love going to the Odyssey?
Right.
And the first time, I'm trying to think, it was the first time I did not go with one of them. I was pretty young because of parents dropping off, and had the Hammer style pants.
Yeah, MC
Poison
Hammer.
black stripe.
Yeah.
But I mean, we used to, of course, love going there. It made you feel much older, than what you were. It was a teen club. I think there probably was people in there that might have been a little older than the teens, though, like 19 or something like
those
that.
vultures. You got shame on y'all, man.
Yeah. So I mean, that of course was fun. So I worked at Merry Go Round for a little bit in the Salem Mall. I was a seasonal worker though, and I was then cut at the end of Christmas because I was not cool enough. Yeah, that's what they told you at the beginning when they hired you.
Wait. I cannot believe.
About the cool test.
Well, it was the sales, and they emphasized, like how cool you needed to be. Which I wasn't uncool.
Right.
But then the thing about Merry Go Round, you had to wear all their clothes to work. So here again, I'm left with no check.
Right. Oh, you had to buy something with your check.
Yeah, I'm
from
sure
them?
we got an employee discount, but you had to wear, which I wanted those clothes.
Yeah, Mary, that was like
My
the
parents
best store.
Were
though.
not going out buying Guess or buying cross colors or
Right.
any of those things. So, but yeah.
I think you was at Colonel White with probably all of my friends, man. Kareem Gilbert.
Yes, Remy Head.
Man, that's my cousin and man, my brother, man.
I haven't seen him in a long time. Facebook friends.
Oh yeah,
so.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of my friends went to Colonel. Like that was my year coming out around 93ish.
Yeah, I was 94.
94,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. I was
So like right around the same time, no doubt.
Yeah. So
I just want to be awkward for 2 seconds.
it's okay.
I like
Take a point from. Take a point.
Now everybody knows how old we are.
Do
So
it on
yes,
purpose.
I'll take a water.
No, do it intentionally. Do it just be awkward. It's amazing.
Take a point
Be
from Peanut.
Okay, look at
Just
you
be
guys.
awkward.
Just do that anywhere. Like go to like a Applebee's and just do it. So anyway, so as high school winds down, did you have a clear cut a determination of where you want to go career wise, and what is your next step when it comes to that?
So, it's kind of interesting because I applied to a whole bunch of colleges and a lot that my dad helped me select, and he was like being totally insane with it. And we were doing all these letters, sending out for scholarships, whatever. It worked though, right?
Okay.
But so there was this college fair, and I don't remember where it was, but I talked to some representatives from FAMU, from Florida A&M.
Yeah.
So then we go down there. We flew there and we drove different places. Like I think we went to UK, maybe was it Ohio University in Athens? Like we traveled different places, but that was the only place that we flew to. So Florida A&M, and I was like, yeah, this is.
So for those out there that's watching, FAMU is an HBCU, right?
Yes,
so
it is.
what was?
I went to FAMU before.
Were you in the FAMU?
I went on a trip with my partner G Rowe. Do you know Garrett Rowe? They went to
Yes!
FAMU? Man, that is my
Garrett Rowe.
He's in Phoenix now.
Yes. So he went to Stivers.
He went to Meadowdale with us too.
But junior high.
Oh,
Stivers.
junior high. Yeah.
Garrett Rowe.
So
yeah.
I took
You
a
can see
trip.
his face clear as day.
I took a trip to Florida A&M with
Yeah, he
G
went
Rowe
there,
and
yeah.
kicked it down there and met Dana Lett and my bro Omar and I can't think of my other partner that I met, Jason Badia.
Okay.
So I met 3 good friends at FAMU, like probably like 1996, probably 96,
Around that
97.
time.
Yeah, right around your time.
Look how different
I met you there, but we don't remember.
So for like a viewing public who don't understand the difference between an HBCU and a traditional college, what were some of the glaring differences that you saw from you going to visit somewhere like Ohio, Athens, and then venturing to FAMU? Was like, this is where I'm at.
Well, I mean, it's a historically black college, so it's black people.
Yeah.
You know, the majority institutions obviously predominantly white, and HBCU is black. Now, FAMU, the interesting thing about that, because it's a state school, so it probably had one of the higher percentages of non-black students, so like white and Latino students, because of just being in Florida, you know. But yes, absolutely, you know, black people.
Right.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, what was like the aha moment of I have to go here? This is actually the school for me.
When I got my scholarship.
Oh.
Right. Say no more.
Say no more. Right. So,
I mean, yeah. I mean, I had like some different scholarships or whatever, but it was a really, you know, it handled it. It took care of it, all of it.
So how happy was mom? How happy was dad when you?
Well, I put it like this. Okay. So thrilled that I got the scholarship, and at the time, you know, my dad he was doing a lot of planning, and I started out as a pharmacy major. Okay. They had a doctorate, so they had this 5-year program, which they probably have to this day, where you can get a PharmD degree in 5 years. Wow. And I really did like science, but so that's what I started out as. So for my mom, though, I mean, I think everyone was excited, but getting dropped off there when they left was extraordinarily jarring. Like, I'm like, they're gone. I'm hundreds of miles away. Right. And my idiot self, for the first week that I was there, had no idea you could go like activate your meal plan. And of course I had no money, right? They left me with snacks. So I lived off of like granola bars, pretzels, and I got water or something for like a week because I was an idiot. And I didn't know that I could go and go eat in the calf, you know?
Wait. So fast forward to you sitting on your bed eating granola, and then your roommate coming in.
Yeah. She wasn't there yet, or she probably would have told me, like,
right.
You dodo, go to the cafeteria.
Right.
I probably started going when she arrived, but it was hard. It was hard.
Right. So what made you switch majors eventually?
So I think even though I enjoyed, so this is kind of like twisty, you know, because I think when you're that age, that's when you're really trying to find yourself. You know, you're 18, 19, 20, 21. You don't know, like, anything. So I really liked, I enjoyed my English classes. I really liked writing. And so I decided, well, I'm going to be an English major. Okay. I did not know what I was going to do with it at the time. So children, I would not recommend that. But so yeah, and then I got involved with like the English Literary Guild. There was a professor there, Dr. Barbara Spiesman. She kind of took me under her wing. She was a mentor. She had done like extensive scholarship and studies on Zora Neale Hurston, and she helped me actually get what's called a Ronald McNair scholarship for one of the summers, where I was able to dedicate my whole summer to doing research on Alice Dunbar Nelson. So I got to like write my first article on the foundations of Black feminism and Alice Dunbar Nelson. So it was really cool. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to I like the process of reading and writing and analyzing, and I loved philosophy. That was my minor. So I mean, I killed it in those classes. I loved it. Shout out to Dr. Michael Labossiere. I believe he still teaches there. I looked him up on LinkedIn.
I love philosophy.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it because it's like, you know, that's when we got all into ethics and morality and everything like that. So maybe it was the philosophy class initially that took me in the different direction.
So I want to bring you in the conversation that me and bro, like we don't talk about all the time, right? Good and bad is really a subjective thing, right? Like, for instance, we're all familiar with this term like maritime law, right? So where you're on the boat, you can do things that wouldn't traditionally be legal on land, right? But does legality have a variance on when it comes to just like morality? Like legal, like something being legal can still also be immoral.
So yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I think I get what you're saying. Like, I do think laws reflect the morals of society to to a large degree.
Right.
It reflects other things. But definitely, I think there's things that we would find, wrong or distasteful, but they're not illegal. Like, for example, I can sit here right now, I can cuss you out, I can call you all kind of names, I can treat you, with all manner of disrespect, and we would all universally say, like, this is wrong.
Right.
But it's legally okay until I cross the threshold and threatening you, and then it's not.
Right. Right.
So.
Right. That's a great way of putting it.
So, I mean, there's an intersection there. But it's interesting, though. It gets pretty deep.
So, when a judge is making a decision, how much of their morality plays into the sentence that is being dished out? So, if somebody commits a crime, right, and they would stand in front of two different judges for the same crime that they committed, how possible is it for one judge to give this person, say, 5 years and another one to give them 8 years? Is that, does that happen? Can that happen? Or
yes, it can.
It can?
So it's the way sentencing works is that, we've got certain offenses where prison is not mandatory. There are some where prison is mandatory. So there's some where prison, a judge could be permitted to impose a sentence of incarceration, but is not required to impose a sentence of incarceration. So that is where the discretion in sentencing comes in. So yes, you could conceivably have two people, convicted of the same or similar offenses to receive very different sentences depending on the judge they're in front of. And so, when we talk about that, I feel like it's very important to know that obviously the very first job and obligation of a judge is to be dedicated to the rule of law and to apply it accurately and to apply it fairly. And I think there's sometimes where the law is going to dictate an outcome that maybe you as a person you wouldn't want, or you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. But a lot of times it's not black and white, it's not clear cut, and there's that discretion. So everybody's a human being, everybody's coming to the bench with their personal life experiences, they're coming with their professional experiences as an attorney. And so that's why it's really important that when we think about the makeup of the bench, right? The bench needs to be diverse. And I mean this, yes, in terms of racial diversity, but I'm talking about diversity in terms of, life experience, in terms of professional experience. We should have judges who are prosecutors. We should have judges who've done civil work. We should have judges who, have done like what I've done, indigent defense and civil rights. Because it's really important, because otherwise, you run the risk that things become too homogenous, okay? So we're starting to have this conversation now on a national level about how important it is that judges come to the bench with a background in representing poor folks, doing civil rights work, because historically, public defenders and judges or attorneys with this type of background, we just do not have as much representation on the bench.
Right.
So, yeah. It's important. Discretion, when somebody's exercising discretion, their human experience is going to come in.
Right.
We are humans. And so it's within the bounds of the law, but let's just keep it real. Like, it matters.
Yeah.
Right. So after you go to school there, like, did you graduate from FAMU?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I graduated from FAMU. I graduated.
Okay. What was that experience like for you?
It was, it was nice. Graduation was cool. Parents came by, and then I went to work for those people. You've been down in Florida. So
Yeah.
I really had no job when I graduated with my English degree and was unsure of my plans. So I worked
right.
at ABC Liquors, which they you remember ABC Liquors, that's the chain of liquor stores there. And some of those liquor stores had what's called a liquor lounge attached to it. So I was the shift manager and the relief bartender at ABC.
Wow.
That was my first job after I got my undergraduate degree.
Yes.
So, at this point of your story, right, you come from, humble beginnings, having all this great things happen with school. You got these goals and ambitions to, get this career off the ground. Now you're working at a place where they're,
What did you want to do?
Yeah.
Did you want to teach with the English degree?
So I think initially, let me go back. I really don't think when I changed my major, I don't know that I knew what exactly I was going to do with it. So remember going back to 12 and the fascination with the law and the philosophy and all of these things, right? Mm-hmm. But as typically happens, sometimes you get lost in the weeds. And I think for a while I was unsure. So I don't know what I thought I was going to do with that degree. For real. Right. I really do not know. Then I thought, well, I'm going to get a PhD in women's studies. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to write and just be scholarly.
Right.
But then by the time I graduated, I wasn't sure. I didn't know. And so I just got a job because I'm I need some time to sort it out. So I did that, and then I was activating cell phones for a while after that. And then I got a job at JCPenney, and I was a retail manager for a few years till I applied to law school.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So the law school inception, what really came on the what was the part where you was you know what, I am done with these things that aren't what I want to do.
Yeah.
What was that last day for you to be you know what, I'm done?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely knew and it might have been where somebody was well, you could do this with JCPenney and you could do you could do this with JCPenney.
JCPenney would never be out of style.
Oh my word.
JCPenney is going to the moon one
yeah.
day. They try to tell you that.
So they're you could do this with JCPenney, you could do that with JCPenney. And I just didn't want to do those things with JCPenney. I didn't want to be a district manager at JCPenney. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I was basically, I have to get my stuff together. And that's when I got some raggedy book. I started studying at home for the LSAT because I couldn't afford those prep classes that are thousands of dollars. And I started getting applications, and I was I'm going to law school.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
I'm going.
one thing that I did want to bring up while we right here is that you worked at JCPenney's for what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, it had to be. So I don't know, when did I start?
More than it was a period of time that you was there, you know.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's out there that feels like you in a situation that you've been there for a while, you kind of got comfortable, but you don't feel it's all that you can do. It's not too late.
Yes.
No, it's not
for
too
you
late.
To go to the next level.
Absolutely.
Just for everybody, I think we all get
Absolutely.
stuck in spots where we know that we could be elevating a little bit, but you're not sure. But you always can, though.
Yeah, you
For
can.
sure.
And it was, because I think I could have easily I was young. I had my own place. I was chilling. I was kicking it. I mean, I could have just kept living my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I wasn't comfortable with it. I was man, I don't want this. And I'm I don't remember the exact day, the exact moment, but I was enough is enough. So I applied to several different schools, and I was accepted into a few different schools, and I ended up picking UC. And so I left Florida, took all my earthly possessions in a U-Haul, and I came back to Dayton for several months before law school was supposed to start. And I lived with my parents, was out kicking it, for several months. They asked me, JCPenney asked me, do you want to be a manager? nah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna work at one of the little counters and just do customer service.
Right.
And
So
so
you
I was
stepping down
out.
because you had aspirations to be big.
Yeah. Well, I was stepping down because I wanted to just be chilling before I started law school. I didn't
Right.
want that responsibility.
Right,
You know.
right.
So I spent that summer working at JCPenney.
I mean, like taking a break called self-care
Yeah.
nowadays. I mean, you had the self-care. You had to, you know.
Ooh, I don't know about self-care, but
That's what you say with the clothes.
it was definitely a break.
Yeah.
Whether it was
Yeah.
self-care, I don't know, Joyce. You know what we were doing, but I mean, no,
That
we
was
were
Joyce.
out. We were out everywhere,
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Places you'll know about. You're not gonna know about them because you're too young. But we were out.
Okay, so eventually, these roads lead you to Dinsmore and Show, right? So
Eventually.
what was it like? Finally working with a practice, or was there like a period before that got you kind of feeling like you can do this?
So when I was in law school, part of what they do is you have the opportunity to interview for summer jobs, and if you do well academically, you can have a shot at going to one of these large law firms, and that's very encouraged. Almost, I think, especially for minority students who have done, it's like that's the it's prestigious, it's financially lucrative. And so I was very grateful that I had the opportunity. I worked at that firm for 2 summers, and then I went on to be employed with them after I graduated. And this is the thing, I was doing civil litigation, okay, medical malpractice, commercial warranty, which is like lawsuits that are filed when stuff
Right.
violates their warranty or the Consumer Sales Acts and various things, and just various types of civil litigation at the high level, and that involved a lot of research, a lot of writing, helping people prepare for depositions. And so from a intellectual standpoint, it was, I love to write.
Right.
I love to research and write. But I felt like I was sort of lacking a connection to the work. So while I was there, though, I started taking appointments from the Hamilton County Public Defender, and I was doing pro bono criminal cases.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's when it really was like, it bit me. And then, yeah.
Right. So we always have this negative connotation when it comes to public defenders. Can you please speak on the behalf of the public defender that it is? I mean,
I wanted to ask one other thing though.
Go ahead.
When we had Mike Wright on the show, of course, and we talked about him passing the bar exam.
Yeah.
How was it when you actually took the bar exam and passed it, or how did you approach it?
Like an insane person.
Yeah.
it's like your dad taught you, huh?
Exactly. I
Right.
mean, yeah, we won't get into the nuts and bolts of it. And it was a very stressful process. I think I lived off dried apricots and raw almonds for a whole summer.
Write that down,
because
y'all.
I was I wouldn't recommend
How long
it.
do you prepare before you take the bar exam?
The whole summer. The whole summer after graduation.
Wasn't no kicking it
You
then, was it?
Nope. Nope, not a bit.
Right.
Word.
No. Because you need to pass that to and I mean, people do not pass on the first time and they have to try subsequent times. But I was like, yeah, mama don't want to do that. So I'm like, I need to pass this bar because I had a job, and waiting on me. And so you study for the whole summer. You go to prep classes. And one thing I did is I took, the bar is 2 parts. There's a multiple choice exam, and then there's a written portion where you get a number of problems and you have to do the legal analysis for the problems and write it out. But with that multiple choice, I mean, I took so many tests under conditions, so I would time myself and take practice tests until, I mean, I would just tell y'all right now, when I took that part of the bar, I don't think there was a question on there. I probably hadn't encountered the fact pattern before.
Right. Is it something that when you are studying for the bar, right, and you go and take the test, Are the questions just things that you know from experience, or is things that you really have to like study out, review,
gotta study.
figure these answers and stuff?
You got to study. Because one thing about law school, and people have talked about this, is the one drawback people or criticism people have is they say it's not enough practical experience. Like, I mean, yeah, you're going to work during the summer and things like that. But as far as like just most of it is from studying and your substantive study, and it's really hard. It's really, I mean, that right there is one of the hardest things that I feel like I've done. And I, studied so hard for it, and it was such a relief to pass. And it was so heartbreaking for those that had come on that journey with me, when they didn't.
Yeah.
God.
When you got the test and you were taking it, you knew you passed after you were done because you knew the information on there.
I was a little freaked out at because people get together the night after, like, well, what did you write for this answer and what did you write for that answer? And then you're all freaked out, like, I messed up. But I felt pretty good about it. I mean, maybe a little uncertain, but I'm like, I think I did all right. And then you get your results online, so all you're doing is waiting until the time, and then you're hitting refresh 500 times to get your results.
No doubt. And then when you finally got the news that you passed, how'd you celebrate? What you do?
I don't know, but
I like that answer. Just look at the camera like,
I'm like,
hey, I know what I did.
Right.
I was just elated, put it that way.
Go.
And then I ended up taking, I mean, as crazy as it was, I actually ended up like a year later, I took the Kentucky bar too, so that I could get a license there. But so it was, I mean, it's a relief because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, that is cool. Though,
yeah.
So while you're volunteering for the public defender's office, is that considered volunteering pro bono?
Well, it was the way we did it because I was employed at a firm, so it was a program that they had, which no longer exists because just for a variety of reasons. So we would go and so the way that, like, when people who can't afford an attorney, it gets handled one of two ways, right? It goes to the public defender's office, or it can go to someone in the private bar who is taking an appointed case, and they are being reimbursed for their work from the state.
Okay.
So we call that public defenders or appointed counsel, though we're all appointed. But the public defender is a law office. We are a law office of a group of practicing attorneys.
So you're still getting paid, but
you get
not directly from the client.
We didn't get paid for those cases that we were taking at the time. I mean, I worked my regular job, but you still had to take care of all your regular responsibilities and then do the pro bono cases. So I was doing felony criminal cases, mostly like drug possession. And I told somebody this. It was, I don't want to use the word traumatizing, but this was when, so all the cases that I was getting was crack cocaine, because this was 2004.
Yeah.
And we all know what was the result of those cases. A little bit of crack dust, you gone.
Right.
And my client, it was all crack cocaine. Most of my clients were black. And it was just rough. Yeah, like, wow. I mean, you know it in an academic sense, but until you see it. So, I was doing my firm work, doing that, and I thought, I love this, but then I thought to myself, I don't know if I could do this. And then the program at some point ceased to exist. But yeah, so we did a couple different pro bono things. So we did that, and then we did a little bit of eviction work too.
Was there one story that kind of stands out to you the most, that when you was like, man, this is kind of messed up how they doing somebody?
I mean, I wouldn't say one story, but I just remember, like, there was like a mom and a son, and I don't know, they were but somehow both charged with possessing like the same little tiny bit of crack.
Right.
And it just was, I just remember her, and I remember thinking, like, she doesn't deserve this. Like, even if it's hers or whatever. Like, this is not. I just knew I was like, this is not right. Like, the way we're handling this is not right. We're literally just basically throwing people away.
Right.
You know, and that was just really hard to, because I felt helpless, put it that way. You know, I was a young lawyer, and you know, in retrospect, I look back and I'm like, we definitely could have benefited from, you know, or I could have benefited from maybe more in-depth training. I mean, I learned a lot, and I gave my clients everything I had. I don't think, you know, I gave bad representation to anyone, but, you know, I guess 17 years of practice, me looking back. But,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
I've
learn-
been in it
you
17
learn.
years now,
Right,
so
yeah,
it's just different.
understand.
But it was, I mean, and the hard thing about that is, like, I see, so mind you, I'm doing that back in 2004 and 5 or whatever, and now it's juxtaposed against how we're handling drugs now, which is the right way, you know. But it was very difficult as an attorney and as a Black person to watch the criminal justice response change and become more compassionate when the demographics of the youth started to change.
I was thinking of the same thing, because now we got the heroin epidemic, the opioid.
Yeah.
Back when it was crack, it was like, just say no.
Well, when it was crack, it was like
Just say
10
no.
years for a little bit of crack. And now that is the heroin epidemic is going on, now it's kind of like, oh man, hold on, wait a minute. This is a sickness. It's more of a disease thing that's happening, and it's not. It's grimy. I don't
Like
know.
the victims,
But are
yeah.
the people who are selling the heroin, are they getting tougher sentences?
Yes.
Or is it just the users?
What-
Like,
what-
who is it better for now?
They accelerate the charge if it's fentanyl in it now. So it's kind of like the same component if you think about it. Like, not much has changed from if crack cocaine, which is the mixture is changed of just regular cocaine, you mix it with baking soda, quinine, whatever. I'm no expert. Or if, you know, nowadays you're mixing it with, I mean, it could be heroin, but if it has fentanyl in it, the charge is accelerated the same way.
So I think overall, just like generally speaking, kind of to answer your question, is that yes, trafficking is more serious than simple possession, but the overall response, you know, has just changed in terms of, and this is the thing, the recognition is right. I mean, we are dealing with a you know, a medical issue, the disease of addiction. And so the recognition is right.
Right.
It just is tough to, you know, it's tough to see that based on what you know, what I had seen previously. I think a lot of attorneys that have been around for a while would tell you that, because it just hurts. I don't know how else to describe it. You know, I'm glad we're doing what we do now, but I think a lot about the people who, you know, whose lives were probably just absolutely destroyed by unnecessarily harsh treatment by the law for something.
Yes.
But, you know, I don't know.
Right. So 2013, you had the Greater Dayton Volunteer Lawyers Project, right?
No, so this is what I did. I was at the public defender's office, or I'm sorry, I was at the Dinsmore and Shoal in Cincinnati. And then I left there to go to the Ohio Justice and Policy Center in Cincinnati. It's a civil rights law office. So I was the director of the Race and Justice Project there. And we were doing stuff related to police misconduct and litigation around the rights of incarcerated persons, did a little bit of voting rights and a lot of policy advocacy. So around the school to prison pipeline, sentencing disparities, prosecutorial discretion, all of these different things. And so that was where I really grew. As a lawyer, I was able to do so much and to learn so much and to litigate the things that I was like truly passionate about.
Right.
So that was an amazing time. I spent a year running the externship program at the University of Cincinnati College of Law, and then I returned to Dayton in 2012. So I actually went back to Dinsmore's Dayton office and did a little bit more civil litigation for a couple of years, and that's where I did VLP, like pro bono divorces, because they also, anytime somebody was offering pro bono, I'm like, cool.
Yeah,
like,
you
I
get
want
that
to.
experience.
And then I've been at the public defender's office now for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
17 years total practice.
So the Bar Association Board of Trustees co-chair.
Yep.
What was it like to go from, being nervous about taking the bar to now you are a part of the Board of Trustees at this point?
So, I mean, it just, it's part of, so I always felt like, when you're in the legal profession, it's, service is important to me, and it's service to the community, but we can also serve our profession as lawyers. So getting involved in the Bar Association was just my way of trying to give to the profession. And so I did that with like the diversity committee, and, I've spoken at the Law and Leadership Institute. I've tried to I supervise interns occasionally at our office, so I'm trying to give to the profession as well. So that was what that's kind of about.
So, like you had experience in Cincinnati working on, Dayton and, on police reform. What was it like to now come home to have to do it as well?
So it's interesting. So my, in Cincinnati, it was actual litigation surrounding the police misconduct, and so those types of lawsuits can cause reform, because if they get settled, and you've read about this all throughout the country, that it might result in certain changes to policies or
like federal
practices.
Law.
Yeah, I mean, so those were federal lawsuits. What's different here about the police reform effort is that it is a community-based effort. Okay, so it's concerned community members and members of DPD, and the goal was to work on these 5 areas and try to look at what's in place now and see where there's opportunity for growth, and where potentially can we either implement best practices or do better. And so, yes, I've been involved in use of force reform work for, I think it's going on 2 years now with COVID. I'm like, but yeah, it's pretty close to 2 years. And so, I like that process because, community members have come to have, they have a voice. And I think then we just have to kind of wait and see what ends up being implemented. And I think that's where people kind of get frustrated with the process. But when you're used to like litigating and being in court, like stuff can take a long time. But I've been very, very grateful to be a part of police reform, because really at the end of the day, we all care about the same thing, right? Everybody wants to go home. Everybody wants to retain their dignity. Everybody wants to be treated with respect. And so it's kind of like, why don't we look around at what other police departments are doing across the country and see what's working to reduce force, but also keep officers safe, and maybe we can see about implementing some of that.
So like me and Smith talk about this quite often, and to me, I just feel like, for instance, I remember when I was a young kid in Westwood, and whenever there was an issue going on, the elders in the community would step out there in the porch. Like, the village really raised me to the point where things never got out of control. Nothing ever got out of hand where police had to be called to come over there. We really feel, I mean, he can speak for himself as well, but the police that are neighboring, that are frequent in the neighborhood should be from that neighborhood or somewhere close to that demographic, to where they can understand, me and Smith's energy. So that I may just be super loud. Somebody outside may say, man, why is he being so belligerent? Like, why is he being loud? When someone from the neighborhood say, oh, he's loud, he's just from, like, that's how they talk from here. How do you feel about policing and also reflecting the demographic of the people?
So, I mean, that's something that I think there's been a lot of conversations about that it would be ideal for officers to police the communities that they live in for this reason. I don't know that is, I can't really say the feasibility of that. I think it just seems real difficult. I get the theory behind it, but they want officers who know the neighborhoods where they're working. And so if it can't be a situation where, the officers are living there in the community, then I think a concerted effort to know the members of the community, is probably the next best thing that we have to that. But I get what you're saying. I get what you guys are saying, and I mean, in an ideal world, yes, that's what we would have, because he would maybe know you, like you said.
And you need people from the neighborhood to actually go and apply to be police officers.
Yes, you do.
I mean, if there's not anybody from that neighborhood that has joined the force, then how can you have somebody in that neighborhood with a police officer to patrol that neighborhood?
Well,
so
I'll give you an example.
But I am saying, though, like, there is some type of divide between police and what black people are wanting to team up with. And until that type of mentality is erased, and I'm not saying whose fault it is in that, but it's just a way that we think like, oh, man, I can't be no police officer.
Well,
for whatever reason. And so now you're not seeing a reflection of your own in your community.
Well, like, I wanted to give a caveat to that as well. So, like, for instance, let's just do a hypothetical situation, right? A little kid grows up in the inner city. He gets in trouble at 18. He gets a charge or something of that nature, which, I mean, like, you've been on the forefront of the sealing process. But if he bumps his head at 18, before he's even legally old enough to have a gun, he will be disqualified from ever becoming a police officer. Even though he may be from that neighborhood, may have learned from that messed up experience, he could go on to be a person that would be a positive police officer. But the fact that now he's disbarred from ever becoming that, he'll say F that because he know he cannot be that. Yeah. Based off one mistake he made at 18.
But there has to be enough people who aren't disqualified to do it. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, if that's true and we know that that's true, then, like, we need to tighten up. There is a certain point where you have to do self-inventory, okay, and fix the things that's wrong instead of saying, oh, man, I messed up. Like, stop messing up when you're 18. Or, like, teach our kids, man, like, which way to go. I mean, to a certain point, to a certain extent, I am into just trying to fix ourselves without anybody having to come in and, fix us. Like,
exactly.
We capable of doing it, bro.
I mean,
I agree.
I agree with that. I really do. I think, like you said, the self-inventory, I like that. But I also want to take it back to 18-year-old self.
Yeah.
And I know what my 18-year-old self was like.
Definitely.
And I feel like I was a person raised with, what they like to say, good values. And I had parents that were, invested in me despite any, issues that we may have had in our household.
Yeah.
And I think that, I was still dumb.
Yes.
I mean, dumb. And so the idea that a mistake, like you said, and mistakes have varying degrees of severity, right?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Sometimes that a mistake
At 18,
dictates, the whole
trajectory, who that person gonna
rest
become.
of your life.
Yeah.
That is really a harsh response.
Yes.
Now, I'm just saying, sometimes, there's situations where unfortunately what someone has done is too severe and it warrants incarceration, or it warrants a long period of incarceration. But I think the vast majority of what we're dealing with in the criminal justice system is not, these heinous crimes.
Right.
I mean, and so it is tough. Like, when I have to tell somebody who has a conviction from 30 years ago that the law says they can't seal, that they can't seal it, like, they have to live with that. How long do you have to be, a law-abiding citizen before
They'll take the cone of shame off
you?
your head.
Absolutely, because that does something to a person. So,
with being a police officer, you do have to have people with a certain type of character in order to make sure. This is just to me. If this was my country, I would want police officers to have good character, man. So we're not putting even more corrupt people on the force. And I'm not saying that the people do stuff and never get caught all the time. So that doesn't mean that they're not a bad person. But I think you do have to pick police officers with a certain type of way to make sure that they're not out here being corrupted police officers.
With a certain high altitude of
discretion, responsibility, good, upstanding people, man. You know, and I'm not even saying all the police officers on the force are like that right now. You know, but I don't think that it should even be broken down to just a criminal record. Like, I would have to figure out like a psychological evaluation for police officers to kind of see like where they stand on a whole lot of.
And I think that's part of what the vetting process involves. And you know, I don't want to speak out of turn because that was not the part of the you know, the police work that I was involved in, but I feel like I can almost say with certainty that psychological evaluation or testing of sorts, I don't know what all it consists of, but that is certainly a part of the process, and rightfully so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you were doing mock trials. Like, how fun is doing a mock trial where it's not really a trial, but you get a chance to go in there and act like high stakes are going on?
So yeah, we did some of that so there's like teams that do that in law school, and I wasn't like on that team, but you have classes that you take where you do that. So yeah, it's fun, and I've judged some competitions where that's like, you know, high school kids or whatever doing their mock trials, and I like that. Yeah, it's really cool.
So the Ohio Innocence Project, I saw like you reshared that. It was a picture of two people, Nancy Smith and Joseph Allen. They were wrongly accused and incarcerated for over 4 decades. What is it like being a judge, knowing that those type of things can happen just based off of how evidence presented? One lawyer being more charismatic than the other, one juror sways the rest of the people, and someone going away for 4 decades, and to find out after 4 decades they was wrongly accused. How does that feel, being a judge residing over cases?
Well, I mean, since I've never been a judge, I can't tell you how the judge feels about it.
But the responsibility, of course.
Let me tell. So this is what I would say. I'll tell you what I think. And you read the post, so right, this is what's significant about that. The first time that a prosecutor stood up and said, I am sorry, like, I apologize, like, it was deep, like, I was like tearing up when I was watching that, because you know, that doesn't happen or hasn't. You know, you gotta like read Mark's or the Innocence Project's post and their article to know more of those details. And so, I mean, I would think this, like, as a judge, I would just speculate, if you find out, you know, later that the decision that you made was wrong, I mean, if you thought that you were right and you were doing the best you could at the time, then, you know, you gotta like make peace with that. But the thing is that if you somehow have an opportunity to rectify something that's wrong, I mean, yes, the prosecutor apologized and all of these different things, but ultimately judge had to sign off on all those you know, entries, and it didn't seem like there would be any reason, you know, for him not to. But so I think, yeah, you know, judges can be part of maybe rectifying.
If you got a jury trial, right, and you know that the jury has made a mistake, like you're the judge, you're listening to the case and all the evidence,
just like, yeah, he did it, like,
and they convict somebody, and it's like, you like, oh man, nah, this ain't right.
So yeah, like we had this conversation before I got here about like all the rules about
right.
things.
Okay,
that
right.
Well, I would do this or I would do that.
Well, not you. Of course not. But
an imagined version of you, not you, but an imagined version of you.
Nah, she will. If it was me,
yeah.
I would
Judge Smith.
throw out all convictions.
All of them.
If I didn't think that they were right, I'd say thank you for your service, men and women of the jury, but your conviction has been overturned. Free that man.
You can't legally do that.
You might be able to, man.
I don't think you legally do that. So
you can throw out a conviction, bro.
Well, let's figure out some things that like a judge can do, right? So, like during the pandemic, the jail population they limited. So like they were letting people out based off of that principle. But to me, it kind of made me think of if you could just let them out, why would they lock us to begin with? Like, what do we need a population of prisoners? Like in a grand scope of things, do we need prisoners?
So,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, we need to have incarceration as an option. Okay, I don't know that most people would disagree about that. The issue is, are we over incarcerating?
Right.
Okay, so I think that's what you're getting at
Right.
with COVID. I think what you're getting at is, if your question is if these people could be out because of COVID, why can't they just be out?
Yes.
And I think that's a really reasonable question. And I think what COVID showed us is that, yes, we still, have issues with over incarceration, and whether that's, the pretrial detention period, or whether it has to do with the actual sentence that people are serving. Obviously here, the jail, you're only serving a sentence there if it's a misdemeanor, or there's certain short, periods of incarceration that can be related to a felony, local time, or whatever. But I think it, shows that we're still dealing with over incarceration.
Right. So, like you made a post where you said yesterday, Monday, 6/2014, there were 63 people incarcerated in Montgomery jail on bonds of $500 or less, right? Of those 63, 12 were $100 or less. This is costing you and the taxpayers in this county more than $4,000 each day.
Dang.
How is this possible that this, I would call it a scheme going on, because how are we paying $4,000? Like, Lil Ray can get out. Like it's cheaper than him just being in there. $4,000. What is the overwhelming cost for a one bedroom apartment shared with another guy, water through the sink, 3 meals a day? That is $4,000 for that treatment.
Well, so, and Jill, I don't know if you know the figure, like right off the top of your head, of what it cost of, incarceration per day per person.
It's about $75.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't want to misspeak, but it's $75 a day. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
For the county?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Ignore it. No one can see it. Imagine it's not me.
It's a big old pterodactyl in here, bro. What's going on?
Wow.
All right. So, the 2020 City of Dayton Use of Force group. Is that something you spearheaded, or were that a sort of effort?
So that was something that was initiated by the City of Dayton, by the mayor. And I think in the wake of, what happened with George Floyd, there was like this attempt that maybe we should just take a look at things. So there were 5 different working groups, each focused on a specific area of policing. I was not spearheading in the sense of setting all of that up. I was selected to be a member of one of the original working groups, and that group was dedicated to use of force. And so one of the things we were doing is looking at the current policy, the force policy for Dayton Police, and making recommendations on how we believe that either the, sort of the, I don't want to use the word data, but there's a lot been written by scholars and academics about what type of practices work well in policing. And so we were kind of looking at the current policy and then looking at some of those, what they call best practices, and thinking about how to see about integrating those into the current policy. And even though it took a year and a lot of time, I mean, we really were only able to like scratch the surface, but we made some very significant recommendations, but our recommendations remain as part of a small group that have not yet gone through the voting and approval process by the city commission.
Okay, so one thing that did go through during this time was the Stand Your On Ground Law Conference. How do you, are you allowed to speak about, okay, so, well, what is Stand Your Ground law? Can you at least speak on what that is?
Yeah, so basically, previously the law used to be that in certain situations you would have a duty to retreat, right? You could use force if you were in your home, because that was called the castle doctrine, right? So you didn't have a duty to retreat before using any form of like force in your home. So stand your ground is essentially that if you're in a place where you can rightfully be, then you have no duty to retreat before using force.
Wow.
Okay.
Well,
And now that it's just Ohio isn't open. What is it? Carry to conceal anymore? You just everybody can just have their guns like Texas now, right?
well, not like Texas. Like Texas is like the Wild Wild West. As long as you got an ID, as long as you got an ID and at least a couple teeth in your mouth,
You can have a
you
gun.
can have a gun. I said that, not her, but the record. Shout out to Texas, man. We love Texas. Like speaking of, you know what I mean, of candidacy and other places, you actually helped with I cannot pronounce her first name. Miss Devers for clerk of
Kira Deaver.
Kettering.
Yes.
Was it
Kira Deaver.
Kira Deaver. Honestly, when I see the name, I was like, man, that's cool. And after I was like, the picture didn't match. What do you think she looks like, man? I'm just gonna ask you.
Huh? What do I think?
What do you
What's her-
think?
by her name?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It just surprised me. So, what was it like to help someone else and like? I'm just Google it. Just
What
saying.
does she look like? Why
Don't
would I
even
know
look
something
at
like
this.
that? All right.
What
go
was
ahead.
it like to be a part of nominating someone else for a office position?
So I've worked on a couple of campaigns. I've worked on 2 judicial campaigns, and this was a non-judicial one. And I mean, it was a good experience in terms of like what I wanted to do was get involved to help, you know, women that I knew on a professional level who I felt were immensely qualified to run for the position that they were seeking. And, you know, in order to run a successful campaign, you have to have help. You have to have volunteers. And so, you know, my motivation for getting involved was not necessarily to, you know, learn how to run a campaign. I wasn't even thinking about it, you know, like at that point in time, but because, you know, I want to see qualified people in positions, like in judicial positions and other elected positions, because our local elections matter so much.
Yes.
They matter.
Yes.
And so, you know, getting involved like that, going out to vote, like all of these things are really critically important. So I had, you know, I've had a good time on a couple campaigns that I've worked on.
Hey, shout out to Will Smith. Shout out to Jeffrey
Hey, Will.
Mills. They've all sat in the same seat. Let me be silly. So, so May 3rd is the Democratic primary. Are you excited?
I am excited.
Right.
I'm really excited. This has been, you know, it's really exciting. I feel really blessed. I'm super humbled by like the amount of support and encouragement that folks have given to. I always say us, but
Right.
I mean, because we're a team running this campaign, but have given to me. This means something to me. It really does. Like, this community, is my home.
Right.
So it's really, really important. And the fact that, little me and
Right.
like that peach dress or dragging the Cabbage Patch or whatever,
Yeah.
could be at this point where, I can serve my community in a different way is like, it just really is, it's an incredible blessing. So I'm really excited. I'm ready to go.
So, like, what are some of the things that you want to implement, like, immediately once you are elected? Because you will get elected at this point. So, what are some things that you want to implement immediately?
So I think, because like kind of what we were talking about in terms of like all the rules that we have, and we can't really discuss, certain things as judicial candidates. But one of the things that, the court is doing is, that I think people need to know about is its use of specialized dockets. We have a number of dockets that are set up to provide therapeutic intervention to people who their criminal behavior is being driven by addiction or by mental health issues or by poverty or just a combination of all of these factors. And so I strongly support the continued use of the specialized dockets. I think, the court ought to try and stay on the cutting edge of therapeutic interventions, making these available to folks, because this is a step towards, getting people truly rehabilitated. Because people get done, with their sentence, whether it's incarceration, probation, or whatever, they come back out.
Yes.
So I think these specialized dockets, I obviously am very supportive of their use, to the extent that we as a bench would have any opportunity to expand the use of specialized dockets wherever it's appropriate. We get guidance by the Ohio Supreme Court or whatever, what have you. I'm all for that because, again, at the end of the day, the vast majority, like, we want people to come out and be contributing members of society and be able to function, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I can tell you, like, that's something that I definitely, truly am like, support.
So here on the Legend of People podcast, we had this thing called the butterfly effect. Either something you said during the course of the interview or something I found in the course of the research that I found that was truly profound and amazing. Just your openness to come on our podcast is so major because, I mean, of course, we've had, other legends come on here as well, but the fact that, you aspire to be and you see the benefit and come back to the grassroots, you know what I mean? That shows true character, and that's something I like about people like, every other rock star politician that you could think of, they're my favorite, like AOC and stuff like that. But it's not about political issues here today. But what I want to say also is like you telling the story about you at Merry-Go-Round or you at JCPenney, and they're telling you, oh, you can do that a third. And I'm like, look how major you are now today that you can look at that and say, I knew I wasn't wrong. You know what I mean? Your story is going to be that story to somebody like my daughter who is a mixed child. Sit back and see that even in that part where, everybody feel like they hit that cap. It's like you're just waiting to break through to that next level. You have that story to say, I bet on myself, and it's going to pay off. I want to say this is one of the most legendary stories I've heard because you being so vulnerable to speak like that, to come on this podcast where you still got the world to gain and lose. Yeah. It shows tremendous courage. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's really been my pleasure. It's really been nice.
And just, my observation is just, I was kind of listening to when you was telling us that you went to Lincoln, and you was kind of hesitant to say what it really is, but you are gifted. And you had a measure of being wise or being smart, scholarly, intellectual way back then, but it's the humble shall be exalted and the exalted shall be made humble. And that humbleness is what's like really cool about you.
Yes.
Coming to the Legendary People podcast. No, I mean, like, we done had all different types of guests on here.
Yeah.
But you are so good in what you're doing that you won't get anything else on you because of your own hard work and your ability to just focus and get to where you're going. So you definitely have our support.
Absolutely.
As we go on to, is it May 3rd?
May 3rd.
As we go on to May 3rd, during all of our shows, we'll make sure that we come through and support your candidacy to tell everybody, like, let's get someone in there who just understands the whole picture. It's not even just us.
The whole
She
picture.
understands everyone,
Yeah.
all these different perspectives and different ideas, you know, from the bro that made a mistake at 18 to the person who's protecting themselves from these people who may be making mistakes.
Yeah.
This balance
Yes.
is what we looking for. So, like, really, I always say, the people who come on our show, you guys validate our show and make us major. From, like, you coming and bringing your, man, all of your sauce with you, man. So, like, we just really want to thank you for coming on, and we appreciate it. And I want you to take us out with some words of wisdom, you know?
Thank you guys very much. This has been very, very fun.
sure.
So I appreciate it. And I think I would just leave your voters with this. We live in a community where our judges are elected, okay? And judges matter. What they do matters. And so I would just encourage everyone to, you know, look into the candidates that are running for the Common Police Bench in Montgomery County. Do your homework, you know, ask your questions. But ultimately, once you make your decision, just get out and vote. You know, that is how we as a community try to decide what's right for us as a community. So make your voice heard and make sure that you vote.
All right, that's all right.
Nice.
Man, you go pick up bills real quick.
All right, you guys, man, go to Sheik's for breakfast. They have the best breakfast in the city. Agnes All Natural Grill for lunch. Agnes is right there. Have you been to Agnes yet? Oh, you gotta go to my bros.
You went for a treat.
Listen, Agnes All Natural Grill, right? They have like kind of like Caribbean type flavor, jerk chicken and rice,
Pineapple
cabbage
bowls.
and jerk chicken bowls and chicken cheesesteaks and water and brown sugar lemonade. And they are right on the corner of Third and Wayne.
Okay.
So right where the library is,
Yeah.
maybe cat a corner from the library. It's right. It's the old Wimpy's.
Yeah. I've been, okay.
Yes.
So I've been doing all this eating out. Like normally I
Right.
don't, but I'm super busy right now. So if you give me like a new place, like
yes.
guarantee I'll be trying
You
it soon.
definitely want to go. And man, really cool environment. You'll love it. You'll love it. It's right downtown, right there. So Agnes All Natural Grill for lunch. If you ever get injured, call attorney Michael Wright. Make the right choice. When you want to get lit a little bit, get you some Kiara wine, contact Antoine Cunningham or go get it from More for Less, theshoparea.com. Gold for Your Mouth, T-Shirt Kings, Camera King Studios, and Sell Stocks Not Dope every Sunday on the Dash Resource channel. All right, hey, tomorrow we got Fendi J coming on.
Oh, man.
She is going through a battle with cancer right now, and she done, you know, she's fighting hard, but she want to come on and kind of tell what she's going through. So I think that's going to be a very, very good story. Tomorrow, you guys, at 6 o'clock, and Black Crypto News. We have that tomorrow. Bitcoin is up 15%,
Yep,
up
sure
to
is.
43,000 right now. So
I'm smiling.
one good thing about when Bitcoin goes up, it takes all of these other altcoins with it. So everything is up. We got our crypto.com.
Yes.
That's up maybe like 14, 13%. Save Mode, she was up.
I saw
Ethereum was up. VeChain, everything is up.
Everything is up.
Bitcoin is gonna drive the bus. So you guys make
cheeks hurt
sure,
from smiling all day.
man, y'all tap into Black Crypto News tomorrow at 7:45 with B Nut. He'll be here, and we're gonna talk more about the metaverse and all the opportunities that that's out there for us. You guys, we can build something major. All right, see you guys tomorrow. Angie,
Yo.
love you. Peanut, what you got for me?
Legendary people, legendary stories.